Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, January 28th, and we're glad you're here with us. We'll begin this meeting with an invocation by Reverend Chuck Arson, Bunker Hill United Methodist Church. Pastor?
Thank you, Mayor. As we continue, let us turn our hearts and minds to God in prayer. Almighty God, we thank you for your many blessings of this community, for the privilege of living and serving here. We thank you for our mayor and each member of this board, their commitment to the well-being and prosperity of the people of Kernersville. Grant them wisdom and discernment as they deliberate, courage to do the right thing, humility to work together in unity. Let their decisions be guided by justice, compassion, and a sincere desire to serve the public good. God, watch over our town, its leaders, and all who call this place home. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic that stands, one nation, for God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Arson. We appreciate you coming out tonight. All right. We have several public hearings on the agenda this evening. When an agenda item is denoted as a public hearing, persons attending shall be permitted to address the Board of Aldermen regarding the item under consideration, those speaking in favor speaking first and those against speaking second. Proponents and opponents shall each be given 20 minutes of time to speak and may choose to allow one speaker to utilize the time or allocate the time amongst different speakers. All right, so we've got several public hearings. The first public hearing is an annexation. It's item 1A. Public hearing annexation, voluntary contiguous annexation by NCLA Real Estate Foundation for properties located at 4353 and 4365 High Point Road containing 41.632 acres more or less. We'll begin a presentation by Ms. Garner.
Madam Mayor, this annexation is a request that goes along with item A2 or AB, 1B, I'm sorry, the rezoning. So this is the annexation request for the NCLA properties. This was part of the agreement to provide the school resource officer to NCLA, which we've been doing for several years. Now that NCLA owns the building, they're making the request, which is also driving the need for a rezoning to a Kernersville zoning district. Would you like me to go ahead and present that rezoning case?
No, we have somebody signed up to speak.
Okay.
So, or should I? What do you think, Curtis?
You can hear them together and then just cast two separate votes.
Jim, what works for you, speaking once or speaking twice? Okay. All right, go ahead with the presentation. And the presentation would be the next public hearing, item 1B, Jim Davis, agent for NCLA Real Estate Foundation, LLC, zoning docket K831.
Madam Mayor and Board, K831 is the petition for the NCLA, or by NCLA Real Estate Foundation, LLC, for rezoning into the town of Kernersville. The proposed zoning is from Forsyth County Agricultural to Institutional and Public. There are two parcels in common ownership. Both are zoned agricultural and both will be rezoned to Kernersville Institutional and Public. It is a general rezoning. Zoning in the area is kind of all over the place. We've got several Forsyth counties zonings, residential multifamily 8 special, residential multifamily 5 conditional, of Kernersville residential multifamily 5 conditional, and then Forsyth County agricultural. So it's a little all over the map. It's a changing area down there at Union Cross and High Point Road. If you've driven down there lately, you've seen that. The land use plan identifies this area as low density residential, and staff finds that the institutional and public zoning district conforms to the current land use plan because it contributes to the unique high quality community description by supporting surrounding residential use through a complementary zoning district. The change in, or the allowable uses in institutional and public, we don't really have anything to compare it to from Forsyth County, does allow single-family residential and then some other institutional and public recreation type uses. So the uses are very limited in this area when the property is zoned institutional and public. Request to rezone the property from Forsyth County Agricultural to Kernersville Institutional and Public is in conformance with all of the zoning requirements set forth in the UDO, and any changes to the site will be reviewed for compliance with UDO standards. They are on the docket for Planning Board in February for a Planning Board review for a building addition. Planning Board and staff recommend to approve the recommended change to the zoning ordinance by rezoning the property in case 831 from Forsyth County Agricultural to Town of Kernersville Institutional and Public. The said rezoning is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and both reasonable and in the public interest because the request to rezone to the institutional and public zoning district is consistent with the land use plan in the institutional and public zoning district, and range of uses allowed within that zoning district contribute to the high quality community the land use plan calls for in this area of Kernersville. This was heard at the January Planning Board meeting, and all members present voted in favor of the rezoning. Be happy to answer any questions.
Do either of you have questions of Ms. Garner at this time? Thank you, Ms. Garner. All right, so we've determined that a combined public hearing is appropriate, and everybody interested in speaking in this case has said that is fine with them as well. So I'll declare the public hearing open. And this is a combined public hearing for the annexation and for the rezoning. I do have a proponent signed up to speak, Mr. Davis. You come and give your name and address at the beginning of your remarks.
Jim Davis, 6026 Old Orchard Road here in Kernersville. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Board of Aldermen. Thank you for your time this evening. I'll keep it short and brief. I'm the chairman of the Board of Trustees for the NCLA, and I also have with us tonight David Fitzpatrick, who serves on the board with me, as well as Renee Fanza, who's our principal of the school. The rezoning and annexation request before you tonight is pretty straightforward. We've been working with the town for a while regarding the annexation, and per the agreement with the SRO, have submitted our annexation petition. And then the rezoning petition is simply to bring the property into conformity with the town zoning classifications. So really pretty straightforward request from our end. We appreciate your consideration this evening, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? And Ms. Fonso and Mr. Fitzpatrick, thank you for coming today. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. All right, so we need to do two different votes. The first vote will be on the annexation. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we accept the, how do we want to say that?
Do you have some suggested wording?
Accept the annexation, approve, adopt. And
Okay.
you've got many choices.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept a motion as written.
So a motion in favor of annexation by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, the next is the rezoning that we're voting on. There's suggested language on the screen.
Okay. Well, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a move to make a motion to amend the zoning ordinance of the town by rezoning the property in case K831 from Forsyth County AG to Town of Kernersville IP.
All right, I have a motion as recommended by staff by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. Second?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. We appreciate all you have done for for the Leadership Academy, and your students are having great successes, and very proud that you're part of Kernersville. So thank you for coming out on this snowy and icy night. All right, the next is a public hearing on a finance issue, proposed financing of general improvements to Ivy Redmond Sports Complex, Hope Park, Senior Gardens, Old Addison Memorial Library, Public Services Yard, and Police Department locker room and restrooms located at Town Hall. Mr. Swisher?
Madam Mayor and Board, you have in your packet the memo outlining what these improvements are. It's fencing at Ivy Redmond Sports Complex, the community pool and bathhouse, some renovations at the Paul J. Senior Botanical Garden, the new roof at the old library, police locker room and restroom renovations, and then fencing at our public services yard. We went out to the lenders for quotes on the loan. We got back 3. We're recommending awarding Webster Public Finance Corporation the loan package. Interest rate was 3.84% over a period of 10 years for those improvements. Total loan cost will be $16.298 million. Be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions at this time? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Oh, wait, we have to do a public hearing. Sorry about that. Okay. There's a lot of things we do with budgets that are just a motion. Missed that it was a public hearing. I knew that going in tonight, but we were on a roll. All right. So, and nobody has signed up to speak. So this is a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open. There anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of any of these proposed financings of general improvements? And these were already adopted in the budget, correct, Mr. Swisher? It's just a matter
Correct.
of how we finance them.
That's correct. All of these items were in the fiscal year 25-26 budget.
Okay, and is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the financing? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion for approval by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham.
Second.
Second by Alderman Pegram. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, we are to public session. There's no one signed up to speak as a speaker from the floor, but is there anyone here who'd like to address the board on an item that is not otherwise included on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to presentation of the financial audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025.
Good evening. My name is Hunter Wiseman, representing the firm Thompson, Price, Scott & Adams, and I will be presenting the audit results for fiscal year 2025. In front of you, you should have a packet which contains a summary of information from the audit report. If you will, please open that to the table of contents. We're going to start by covering the AUC 260 letter to governance, then the audit results, which consist of a summary of information and then a table of charts. Lastly, any LGC required communications, and then an opportunity for any questions or comments. On page 1 of the letter to governance, we note that we've completed our audit for June 30th, 2025 in accordance with government auditing standards and as our contract dated April 23rd, 2025. We do note that we do not audit or issue an opinion on internal controls. At the bottom, the significant risks identified are a new addition to this letter for the current year. They are risks that are present in every audit, so they're not unique to Kernersville. That risk includes management override of controls, and on the second page, improper revenue recognition. So I'd just like to note that those are not specific to Kernersville. They are general risks for every audit. Going now into significant accounting policies, I do want to call your attention to the adoption of GASB Statement 101, compensated absences, and GASB Statement 102, certain risk disclosures. 101 had the most impact this year relating to compensated absences and specifically sick leave. Next, for significant accounting estimates, they are an integral part of the financial statements, and we do note some that are material, including doubtful accounts, compensated absences, and estimation of depreciation and amortization. For financial statement disclosures, we do draw users' attention to GASB Statement 101 adoption, which is in Note 9 of the disclosures. I'm pleased to report that there were no difficulties in dealing with management during the course of our audit, and I do also like to note that we had a very good working experience with your financial staff. They were always very attentive and responsive to anything that we needed or requested. We are not aware of any uncorrected material misstatements in the financial statements, and also pleased to report no disagreements with management. On page 3, we note that the management representation letter was received dated December 19th, 2025, and that we are not aware of consultation with any other independent accountants during the course of the audit. As far as other audit findings or issues, there are no financial performance indicators of concern which the board is required to respond to the LGC for. And then going into other matters, we do not perform any audit procedures on actuarial valuations that concern LGERS, OPEB, or anything of the like, and also no audit procedures are performed on the GFOA required statements included in the GFOA Comprehensive Financial Report. Lastly, on page 4, we note that the restriction of use is intended for the Board of Aldermen and the management of the town of Kernersville, and is not intended to be and should not be used by anyone other than these specified parties. Starting on page 5, we have the summary of information. I'm going to cover the information mostly focusing on comparing fiscal year 2025 to 2024. The summary of charts which follows this will present the information for all 5 years, and it's a little bit easier to see the trend when looking at the charts than just plain numbers. For total fund balance in the general fund, it was $24.7 million. An unavailable fund balance, including reserve for state statute or non-spendable, was $5.6 million. Restricted, committed, and assigned fund balance was $15.8 million, and general fund expenditures, when including transfers out and less any issuance of long-term debt, were $51.9 million. Fund balance available as a percentage of general fund expenditures was 36.82%, which is down slightly from 42.13% in fiscal year 24. Unassigned fund balance was $8.8 million, or 16.94% of general fund expenditures, again down slightly from 24 at 21.49%. For revenues over and under expenditures before considering contributions and transfers, the general fund had a negative $438,000, the Kerner Mill Greenway Capital Projects Fund $202,000, the American Rescue Plan Act $4,000, the Recreation Department Capital Projects negative $4.1 million, and non-major governmental funds totaled $584,000. Cash versus accumulated depreciation in the Stormwater Fund for total fixed assets were roughly $3 million, accumulated depreciation of roughly $2.1 million, and cash of $2 million. And I do like to note there that we include this as a reference for how your assets are aging. And I will note that at 70% of their useful life utilized, it's estimated that those assets are getting up there in age. Now, we did note in the letter to governance that is, of course, just an estimate. Cash versus fund balance. Cash in the general fund was $22.6 million. In the Kerner Mill Greenway Capital Project Fund, $2.4 million. In the American Rescue Plan Act, $95,000. In the Recreation Department Capital Projects Fund, $205,000. In all other governmental funds, $1.5 million. And in the Stormwater Fund, $2 million. As noted earlier, fund balance for the general fund was $24.7 million. For the Kerner Mill Greenway Capital Project Fund, $2.4 million. For the American Rescue Plan Act, $94,000. For the Recreation Department Capital Projects Fund, $195,000. For the other governmental funds, $1.4 million. And lastly, net position in the Stormwater Fund was $1.7 million. Going to page 6, Property tax rate was 0.58 with a collection percentage of 99.60, which is slightly up from 24. And the collection percentage excluding motor vehicle, 99.56, also a slight increase. Total property valuation was $5.1 billion with a total levy of $27.8 million. Debt for governmental activities, excluding OPEB, compensated absences, and ELGERs, was $37.9 million, and for business type activities, $350,000. Looking now at your breakdown of general fund revenues and expenditures, the largest sources of revenue were ad valorem taxes at $27.5 million and intergovernmental revenues at $18.3 million, for total revenues of $52.2 million. For general fund expenditures, the largest outlay was public safety at $23.5 million, followed by public service at $9.5 million, and total expenditures of $52.6 million. Going now to page 7, this begins our summary of charts, which is presenting the same information that's contained on the preceding pages, but it's a little bit easier to see the trend when looking at this. You can see that total fund balance has grown over the previous 3 fiscal years, as has restricted and assigned fund balance. Going to the bottom chart, as an analysis of fund balance available, 36.82% is a slight decrease from 42.13% in the previous year, and trails the group weighted average of 57.69% from fiscal year 24. I do like to note that these percentages for the group weighted average come from the LGC. They summarize the audit reports, and so it will always be a year trailing in the information because it takes them time to receive all the reports in so they can summarize it. Going now to page 8. As an analysis of unassigned fund balance as a percentage of general fund expenditures, it was 16.94%, which again is down from 2024 at 21.49%. As an analysis of revenues over and under expenditures before transfers or contributions, you can see here that as presented on the summary of information, there was a loss in the general fund, slight income in the Kernersville Greenway Capital Projects Fund, in the non-major governmental funds, in the Recreation Department capital project funds, a loss, and in the American Rescue Plan Act, negligible activity. Going now to page 9, you see a breakdown of your cash balances and fund balances, and as expected, the largest portions of cash and fund balance belong to the general fund at 84.06 and 85.7 respectively. Going to page 10, excuse me. Tax rate was 0.584, which is slightly increased from the previous year. And then on the bottom chart, the collection percentage was 99.60%, again, a very slight increase, but outpacing the group weighted and statewide average. On page 11, as you can see, your largest source of revenue was ad valorem taxes at 52.8% and intergovernmental revenue at 35.10%. And then for general fund expenditures, the 2 largest are public safety at 44.7% and public service at 18.18%. And lastly, on page 12, any additional required communications, it's my pleasure to note that there are no financial performance indicators of concern noted from the LGC's data input, and so there is no requirement for the board to respond to the LGC on any items. And that concludes the information in the presentation summary. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Weissman?
In other words, we're in great shape here in Kernersville.
Yes, I did not see anything in the audit that concerns me.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for your work. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your presentation tonight and traveling here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
And I would like to say thanks to the finance team for doing a great job of preparing the information through this process.
Curtis, is there any action we need to take to accept the audit or anything like that? Okay. Moving on then to item C, consideration of an ordinance establishing a grant project ordinance fund for the North Carolina Office of State Budget and Management Grant Revenues and Expenditures. Mr. Swisher?
This was one item noted in the audit, that we need to set up a separate grant project ordinance fund for the monies that we get from the state. We received a grant a couple years ago of $1.8 million. We have expended most of that, but there are, I think, $310,000 left in it. So we need to, it's $315,000. So we need to set up that grant project fund to account for those.
Okay, do I have a motion to establish the grant project fund?
So moved.
A motion by Alderman Pegram,
Second.
second by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. Curtis, thank you for your work on the budget, helping us dot the i's and cross the t's, keep everything in order. I noticed too, we've got a really good and consistent collections and good fund balance. So that's a very good financial strength for our town.
We try to maintain both of those. You know, you spend money, you got to collect it. But we thank the county for that. They do the collections for us, but they do have a good collection rate. As you saw, probably one of the best in the state, which helps us as well.
Right, that brings us to item D, consideration of an ordinance for budget amendment 7 for fiscal year 25-26. Mr. Swisher?
We have 4 items under expenditures. The largest one of those is the ordinance that you just adopted, item number 4. It increases the Special Appropriations Department by $315,628. That is for the fund that you just set up. So we have an expenditure of money coming out of a project code going into that fund. The other 3, we've got Fire Rescue Department, $30,000 to cover the cost of professional services. That is for the stoplight that will be located, it's emergency signal actually, that will be located on Highway 66 at Station 42. We had to get that designed and engineered. We're moving forward in that. We did get $200,000 or $250,000, I forget which one it is, from the state to cover the cost of that signal. So as soon as we start work on that, we'll receive that reimbursement. The other one is in the police department, $14,150 to recover the replacement door lock sets and handles. That was in downstairs when we did the renovation of that area. We had the new lock sets and handles for the doors. And then also in the recreation department, $26,000. That's carrying forward the athletic officials contract that was approved in 24-25 but not expended. So not a lot of changes in the budget, this budget.
Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham,
Second.
second by Alderman Pegram. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. These matters are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member or citizen so request, in which event the matter will be removed from the consent agenda, considered under the following item. A, consideration of a request by the Chamber of Commerce to hold events at Town Hall in 2026. B, consideration of a resolution setting the dates for the 2026 Spring Folly. C, consideration of an ordinance for temporary road closures for the America 250, Kernersville 155 celebration. D, consideration of an ordinance for temporary road closures for the 2026 Spring Folly. E, consideration of an ordinance for temporary road closures for the 2026 4th of July Parade and Fireworks. F, consideration of ordinance for temporary road closures for the 2026 Downtown Trick or Treat. G, consideration of an ordinance for temporary road closures for the 2026 Veterans Day Parade. H, temporary road closures for the 2026 Christmas Parade. I, a request by the Kiwanis Club to use Town Hall courtyard and the courtroom if needed, Miss Mary's Children's Parade, and J, for Forsyth County tax refunds. Is there anyone who'd like to have any of those items removed from the consent agenda? The audience, staff, or the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, make a motion to accept the reading of those, what was it again?
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda as read.
Okay. I've got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham, second
Second.
by Alderman Pegram. All in favor? It's unanimous. And those are great items to look at and put the dates on your calendar too. If anyone's wondering, Spring Folly, May 1st through 3rd. All right. There were no items removed from the consent agenda, which brings us to a briefing on the February 3rd meeting agenda. Mr. Swisher?
We have 3 public hearings on the agenda for that night. One of those is amending the Kernersville Development Plan for property located at the intersection of Nelson Street and Piney Grove Road, being all of 0.16 acres. And that's item A. Item B is the rezoning for that same parcel, rezoning from RS7, residential single-family quadplex conditional. So A and B will be related to each other. Item C is a general rezoning from RS12 to highway business, property located east of the intersection of Edgewood Street, North Carolina 66 South. That's the parcel that is right behind 66 Diner.
So, Curtis or Catherine, exactly where is that Nelson Street rezoning? Does it touch Cherry Street?
It is a parcel that sits behind another parcel, so it's not right on the intersection. It's actually like 1 or 2 parcels in and then behind a parcel.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, and it's 2 parcels back from Piney Grove Road. So I think the sign's up on it, correct?
It should be. If it's not, we need to know.
Yes.
So,
Where
is
you
it,
see the sign, it's back off the road, probably what, 150 feet back off the road?
Maybe not even that far. It's just the vacant lot that's behind that house where it looks like the sign is for that house, but it's actually for the parcel behind it.
so if you go onto Nelson from Piney Road, it would be on your right?
Correct.
A little bit in, okay.
Yes.
I think it's in between is it between the first and second house or the second and third house? I think it's the first and second house. As you turn off of Piney Grove on Nelson.
It's highlighted in red on the map. It's just because it's so hard to explain its location. This is the staff report that's been posted with that agenda. So you can see the intersection is Piney Grove and Nelson, and then that red line outlining the parcel is the parcel specifically that's being rezoned. So it does sit behind another house. So vacant lot on the corner, then there's the first house, and then it's in behind that second house.
Thank you. There's a lot of, with that small a footprint, there's a lot of places. So thank you for explaining that.
Any other questions on the public hearings? All right, and then we will have, in the public session, we'll have a presentation by, it's a Piedmont Greenway update. That's basically building a connection from Winston-Salem to Greensboro through Kernersville. And we will have a planner, Palmer McIntyre from the Piedmont Land Conservancy here to give that update. Item C is a resolution of support. I think I mentioned this last month. Resolution of support for feasibility study for the Kerner-Mill Creek Greenway connector between Polk Park and East High School. We've got the first leg of that greenway, as you all are familiar with, and this would be the second leg of that. Item D, Hunter Stasic from the Winston-Salem MPO, he's going to do a short presentation about the MPO, what they do, things like that. And I think he's the same one that will do item C. Is that correct, Chris? Okay. Yep. Item E is a resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding with the Winston-Salem Area Transportation Advisory Organization, basically EAC.
Would it make sense to flip those agenda items then?
It's not gonna matter, it's the same person with all of them.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it would make more sense to do D first, and then C, and then E.
He's going to do C anyway. So the same guy that's doing D is doing C, so. And then item F is a resolution setting the public hearing for voluntary annexation. Property located at 1519 Highway 66 South, 0 Kernersville Medical Parkway, 0 Beeson Road, and 0 NC 66 South. The 0 Beeson Road is property that the town owns, and then the property on Kernersville Medical Parkway, I think Highway 66 South, is part of an agreement that we made with those property owners several years ago, that when we ran the water in that area, the water and sewer, they have to come in and annex into the city. Is the one on 66 South part of that agreement, Catherine? Or is it just the ones on Medical Parkway?
I thought these were the annexations for the rezoning of the Linville family property.
One on 66 and Medical Park, they may be, yes.
We've talked about that annexation requirement, but I thought this was for
That's
that
correct.
rezoning. You're
correct.
Yeah.
This is not from the agreements that we have with the property owners. This is from another project. And then we have the consent agenda, and that is it.
Hey. That brings us back to our agenda tonight. Have anything to report, Curtis?
I do not. We are still plowing roads, trying to get the ice off of them now. As I've informed the board, we did all the priority 1, priority 2. We're now on to the garbage routes, trying to get ahead of the garbage routes. If your garbage is picked up tomorrow, we're out plowing the remaining roads on that route that have not been plowed. Becoming a little bit more difficult now since they're packed down with ice, but we have treated those roads today with salt, trying to get it to loosen up, and then we'll plow those. So may get it cleared off just in time for to have some friends join it on Saturday. Hope not. Who knows? Nothing else other than that.
All right. Matters to be presented by the board.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask Curtis, do you see any problems with this quick turnaround from one storm to another that's going to put any undue pressure on the resources of Kernersville as we make these transition from one to the other so quickly?
Well, there'll be a lot of people working a lot of overtime, but I think we're ready from a standpoint of having materials and supplies. You know, if the one on Saturday is just snow, it'll be much easier than the ice that we're dealing with now, depending on how much it is. But, you know, they're ready for it. They know that it's coming, so they're already making plans for those crews to be in place to do that. I told you with the last one, we had crews come in on Friday night, Saturday morning, and started treating the roads, and we're here. We didn't get out to really start doing any scraping until Sunday morning, I think, about 2 o'clock. So, you know, we'll just wait and see what it is, but Chris and folks down in Public Services kind of ready for whatever at this point. But it'd be nice if nothing comes.
Yeah, thank you.
Are we putting more brine out?
We will put brine out if it looks like that we're going to have something. They'll put it out starting what, Friday afternoon? 3 o'clock tomorrow. There you go. Yep, 3 o'clock tomorrow we'll put brine out.
The trash routes that have been scraped, maybe not, you know, the major roads, but you get into like neighborhood, important roads within the neighborhood. Some of those I think still have some ice on them, snow on them. wintry, slushy mix at this point? Are they going to get scraped again?
They were scraping the route, tomorrow's route, they were scraping it today. And I talked to Chris earlier today, and they've also, some of the crews have went back to start doing those roads that aren't on the trash route, that have not been scraped. It's just not easy to get it off at this point. Like I say, they did treat it with salt and calcium chloride in hopes of loosening it up, getting some help from the heat and the sun today. If it gets loose enough that they can go back and actually scrape it, they will do that. The problem you run into is when it's a solid sheet of ice like some of them are, the blade just bounces going across the road. So you're not, at that point, you're not doing anything but tearing up the truck and tearing up. But they will try to get them. They've had pretty good luck and done a good job on the roads that didn't get plowed first, but it just takes longer to do it. And, you know, you've got to get the salt and the calcium to work.
Thank you, Chris, to your crew, and Curtis. I have heard some compliments. People are happy that, you know, it's clearly a difficult and challenging situation, but a lot of people are noticing and appreciating the work that's been done.
Yeah, and most of the complaints that we've received were for roads that the town does not maintain. Highway 66, Mountain Street, portion of Piney Grove Road, Main Street. That's not our roads. We did assist DOT with Main Street, South Main Street as you go down the hill by Denny's. We did assist them with that on Monday. We helped them out on Old Salem Road as well. So most of the complaints that we've gotten that have came in directly to the town have been for roads that aren't the town's responsibility. Now, we've gotten a few complaints about our roads as well, but it's been mainly from folks that they may live in a cul-de-sac where there's 3 houses on that cul-de-sac. You know, I hate it, but that's not going to be a priority to plow. We'll get to it hopefully before it melts, but you know, DOT's back out today. Surprisingly, I was surprised they went back out, but they were back out today doing some of the main roads that they've not done. I think they did Piney Grove, Kerner, Vance, and Old Valley today. So that cut down on some of the complaints we've been getting. But most of the roads that we're responsible for, we've not had a lot of complaints about. So they've done a great job in public services. So you know, they're still on it.
Thank you, Curtis. Any other questions or comments? Randy, did you have anything other than weather-related things to bring up tonight?
Nothing weather-related. I just wanted to kind of echo the Mayor Pro Tem's bragging on the financials folks and all your hard work. Really great job. Thank you.
All right. Is there a closed session? It's not. Our attorney's not here. He's watching. Hi, Ed. He's watching by Zoom.
Yeah, we don't
YouTube.
have one tonight.
All right. There's no further business to be presented to the town. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham,
Second.
second by Alderman Pegram. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Have a good evening and stay safe, everyone.